I was scrolling through Instagram on December 28th when I saw the photo that would change everything. My daughter-in-law Allison, tanned and smiling, standing on a pristine beach with turquoise water behind her. The caption read, "Best Christmas gift ever. Thank you, Joseph, for this incredible trip with Mom. #Cancun, #family first, #blessed beyond measure. Thank you, Joseph, for a trip with Mom. Not me, her mother." And as I sat there in my small apartment in Phoenix, alone 3 days after Christmas, I realized with a sickening clarity where my life savings had gone. My name is Diana. I'm 68 years old. I worked as a nurse for 42 years. I saved $127,000 over my lifetime, every extra shift, every overtime hour, every sacrifice. And 6 months ago, I trusted my son Joseph to manage that money for me. He's a CFO, a chief financial officer, the person in his company who manages millions of dollars, the most qualified person I knew to help me invest my savings properly so I'd have security in my old age. I trusted him completely. And he stole from me to fund a luxury vacation for his mother-in-law while I spent Christmas alone, eating frozen dinners and wondering why he wasn't answering my calls. This is a story of how I learned that being someone's mother doesn't mean they'll choose you, that professional credentials don't guarantee integrity, and that the people you trust most can betray you in ways you never imagined possible. Let me start at the beginning. 6 months before that Instagram post destroyed what was left of my world. I'm Diana Foster. I've been a widow for 4 years. My husband Tom died of cancer when he was 6 to 7. We had one child together, Joseph, who's now 42 years old. Joseph was always a smart kid, got good grades, went to college on scholarship, worked his way up in finance until he became CFO of a mid-sized tech company in Phoenix. He married Allison 8 years ago. They have 2 children, Emma, 7, and Lucas, 5. I was proud of him. So proud. My son, the financial executive. My son who understood investments and portfolios and all the complicated things I'd never learned as a nurse. After Tom died, I started worrying about my future. I had $127,000 in savings, Tom's life insurance, my retirement account, money we'd saved over decades of careful living. It sounds like a lot, but in today's world, it's not enough to guarantee security, especially not for a 68-year-old widow with no other income, besides a modest Social Security check. I mentioned my concerns to Joseph during a Sunday dinner in June. We were sitting in his beautiful house in Scottsdale, a 4-bedroom with a pool, in one of the nicest neighborhoods. Allison was getting the kids ready for bed. Joseph and I were having coffee in his study. "Mom, you're worrying too much," he said. "That money can work for you if it's invested properly. You're just letting it sit in a savings account earning almost nothing." "I know, but I don't understand investing. What if I lose it all?" He leaned forward, his expression serious. "Professional. That's why I'm here. This is literally what I do for a living. Let me manage it for you. I'll put it in conservative investment, safe, steady growth. You'll have better returns than a savings account, and I'll make sure everything is secure." "You do that?" "Mom, you're my mother. Of course I'll help you. I'd feel better knowing your money is being managed properly. You've worked too hard to let inflation eat away at your savings." It made sense. Joseph managed millions for his company. He was qualified, and he was my son. Why wouldn't I trust him? What would I need to do? Just sign some paperwork giving me power of attorney over your financial accounts. Standard stuff. Then I can move the money into the right investments and manage everything for you. You won't have to worry about anything. Power of attorney. It sounded official. Important. And Joseph explained it was just so he could handle the investments without needing my signature every time he made a decision. "Are you sure this isn't too much trouble?" I asked. "Mom, it's not trouble. It's my job. Except this time, I'm doing it for someone I actually care about instead of shareholders I've never met." He smiled when he said it. That smile I'd trusted for 42 years. The smile of my son who'd never given me reason to doubt him. So I signed the papers, gave Joseph access to my accounts, transferred control of my life savings to the one person I believed would protect it above all else. That was in July. By December, every penny would be gone. But I didn't know that yet. For months, I believed everything was fine. Joseph would update me occasionally, brief texts about markets doing well or portfolio performing as expected. Nothing detailed, but enough to reassure me. I saw him less frequently after he took over my finances. Sunday dinners became monthly. Phone calls became sporadic. I told myself he was busy. CFO is a demanding job. And Allison had mentioned they were planning something special, though she didn't say what. I tried not to feel hurt by the distance. Tried not to notice that I barely saw my grandchildren anymore. That Emma and Lucas's lives were documented extensively on Allison's Instagram birthday parties, school events, weekend adventures, but I was rarely included. I told myself it was natural. Young families are busy. Joseph was building his career. I shouldn't expect to be their priority. But it bothered me more as the holidays approached. November passed with no invitation to Thanksgiving. When I asked Joseph about it, he said they were going to Allison's mother's house this year. What about Christmas? I asked, trying not to sound desperate. We'll figure something out. Mom, probably do something small. Something small. That should have been my first warning. December arrived. I decorated my small apartment a modest one-bedroom I'd moved to after Tom died. When the house became too big and empty, I bought presents for Emma and Lucas. Planned a simple Christmas dinner I'd make if Joseph said they'd come. But he didn't say they'd come. When I texted him on December 15th asking about plans, he wrote back, "Things are crazy with work. Let's play it by ear." Play it by ear. For Christmas. On December 20th, I called him. It went to voicemail. I called again the next day. Voicemail again. Finally, on December 22nd, he texted, "Sorry mom, been swamped. We're actually going to take a quiet Christmas this year. Just us and the kids. We'll see you after the new year." Just us and the kids. I wasn't included in us. I sat in my apartment reading that text, trying to understand, trying not to feel the rejection that was so clear in those words, trying to be the understanding mother who doesn't make demands. I texted back, "Of course, sweetheart. Enjoy your time together. Give Emma and Lucas hugs from Grandma. Merry Christmas." He responded with a thumbs up emoji. That's it. A thumbs up to his mother spending Christmas alone. Christmas Eve, I called my friend Patricia from the hospital where I'd worked. We talked for an hour. She invited me to spend Christmas Day with her family, but I declined. I didn't want to be the pitied widow at someone else's celebration. Christmas morning, I woke up alone. Made myself coffee. Looked at the presents I bought for Emma and Lucas, still wrapped. Still waiting to be delivered to grandchildren I apparently wouldn't see. I texted Joseph, "Merry Christmas, sweetheart. I love you and miss you all." No response. I called around noon. Voicemail. I spent Christmas Day watching holiday movies and trying not to cry. Trying not to feel abandoned. Trying to believe Joseph had a good reason for his silence. December 26th came. Still nothing from Joseph. I checked Allison's Instagram. She'd been posting regularly all year, and I'd gotten in the habit of checking it to see photos of my grandchildren, since I rarely saw them in person. Her last post was from December 23rd, a photo of wrapped presents with the caption, "Ready for Christmas magic." Nothing on Christmas Day. Nothing on December 26th. Which was strange because Allison usually posted constantly during holidays. Where were the Christmas morning photos? The kids opening presents? The family dinner? December 27th, still nothing. No post from Allison. No word from Joseph. I started to worry. What if something had happened? What if they were sick or there'd been an accident? I called Joseph's cell. Voicemail. I called their house. No answer. I texted, "Joseph, I'm worried. Please let me know you're all okay." 3 hours later, he responded, "We're fine, Mom. Just having a quiet holiday. Talk soon." We're fine. Having a quiet holiday. But too busy to call his mother on Christmas. And then, on December 28th, I opened Instagram and saw it. Allison's post. Posted that morning. A photo of her standing on a beach. White sand. Impossibly blue water. Turquoise waves. She was wearing a sundress and sunglasses, tan, smiling. Behind her, I could see palm trees and what looked like a luxury resort. The caption, "Best Christmas gift ever. Thank you, Joseph, for this incredible trip with Mom. 3 days in paradise and feeling so grateful. Hashtag Cancun, hashtag family first, hashtag blessed beyond measure, hashtag best son-in-law." I stared at that photo for probably 5 minutes. Read the caption over and over. Tried to make it say something other than what it clearly said. Joseph had taken Allison's mother, a woman named Carolyn, who I'd met maybe 3 times, on a trip to Cancun for Christmas. While I sat alone in Phoenix, eating frozen dinners and wondering why my son wouldn't answer my calls, he was at a luxury resort in Mexico with his mother-in-law. I scrolled through Allison's account. She posted several photos now. The resort, the beach, a fancy dinner, Emma and Lucas playing in a pool. All of them Joseph, Allison, the kids, and Carolyn smiling, tanned, clearly having the time of their lives. Posted with the location tag, Grand Coral Resort, Cancun. I looked up the resort on my laptop. 5 stars, luxury accommodations, oceanfront suite starting at $800 per night. They've been gone since December 23rd, 5 nights, maybe 6, thousands of dollars for a Christmas vacation with Carolyn. While I spent Christmas alone. If you've ever discovered through social media that your family was celebrating without you, not just excluding you, but actively choosing someone else in your place. You know this feeling. The shock, the confusion, the desperate need to understand how this could be happening. Comment below if you've experienced this, and if these stories resonate with you. Please consider subscribing to Lindsay Stories. I called Joseph immediately. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. Joseph, I just saw Allison's Instagram. You're in Kanken? With Carolyn. You told me you were having a quiet Christmas at home. Call me back, please. He didn't call back that day. Or the next. On December 30th, I got a text, got your message. We're flying home tomorrow. We can talk then. That's it. No explanation. No apology. Just a promise to talk when he got back from the vacation he lied about. The vacation he'd taken while leaving me alone on Christmas. They got back to Phoenix on New Year's Eve. I waited until January 2nd to reach out, giving them time to recover from travel. I texted, "Can we talk today? I need to understand what happened." He responded, "Come by the house at 2 p.m. I drove to Scottsdale, pulled up to their beautiful house, the house I'd helped them with a down payment on 5 years ago, when they were struggling to buy in this expensive neighborhood. Joseph answered the door. He looked tan, rested, like he'd just come back from a wonderful vacation, which of course he had. "Hi Mom, come in." We sat in his living room, the same living room where, 6 months earlier, he convinced me to give him control of my finances. "So?" I started, trying to keep my voice steady. "You went to Kanken for Christmas, yeah?" Allison's mom really wanted to spend the holidays somewhere warm, and Allison thought it would be nice to do something special for her. Something special. That must have been expensive. It wasn't too bad. We got a good deal. "Joseph, you told me you were having a quiet Christmas at home. You lied to me." He shifted uncomfortably. "I didn't lie. I just didn't give you all the details. You let me believe you were in Phoenix. Let me spend Christmas alone while you were at a luxury resort with Carolyn. How is that not lying?" "Mom, we're allowed to take vacations." "Of course you are. But why did you lie about it? Why couldn't you just tell me you were going to Kanken?" He was quiet for a moment. "Then, because I knew you'd be upset. And I didn't want to deal with that before the trip. So instead you let me sit alone on Christmas wondering why you wouldn't answer my calls. Do you know how worried I was? I texted you that we were fine. After I'd spent 3 days thinking something terrible had happened." He stood up, clearly agitated. "Mom, I'm 42 years old. I don't owe you a detailed itinerary of my life. We wanted to do something nice for Carolyn. It's not about you. It's not about you." Those words hit like a physical blow. "Joseph, I'm not saying you can't take vacations. I'm saying you lied to me and left me alone on Christmas. And I want to understand why." "Carolyn hasn't been doing well since her divorce," he said. Allison wanted to cheer her up. Give her something to look forward to. A special trip. Family time. And I'm not family. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Because from where I'm sitting, you chose Carolyn over your own mother for Christmas. And you used, I stopped. Because suddenly, horribly, a thought occurred to me. The luxury resort. 5 nights in Kanken. For 5 people: Joseph, Allison, Emma, Lucas, and Carolyn. Accommodations, flights, meals. Activities. Easily $15,000. Probably more. "Joseph," I said slowly. "How did you pay for this trip?" His expression changed. Just slightly. A flicker of something I couldn't quite read. "How did you pay for a luxury vacation to Kanken?" I repeated. "That's not really your business, Mom. It is if you use my money." Silence. Heavy. Damning. Double quotes. "Joseph, did you use my savings to pay for this trip?" "Mom, yes or no? Did you use my money, the money I trusted you to invest for me to take Carolyn to Kanken?" More silence. And in that silence, I had my answer. "How much?" My voice was shaking now. "How much of my money did you spend?" "The trip cost $18,000, he finally said. "But Mom, it's not like I just blew your money. I'm managing your investments. This was a strategic decision." Strategic. A vacation is a strategic investment. You don't understand finance, Mom. This isn't just a vacation. Carolyn's divorce left her in a difficult position. She's been depressed. Allison was worried about her. This trip was an investment in family relationships, in Allison's well-being, in the stability of my marriage. I stared at him. This man I'd raised. This man who was explaining to me, with professional corporate language, why stealing from his mother to fund his mother-in-law's vacation was actually a smart financial decision. "Where's the rest of my money?" I asked. "It's invested. Like I told you." "Show me." "Mom, Joseph, show me my accounts. Show me where my money is invested. Right now." He hesitated. Then he pulled out his phone, tapped at it for a minute, handed it to me. I looked at the screen. It showed an investment account in my name. The balance, $89,000. Where's the other $38,000? I told you. 18 went to the trip. The rest went to management fees, account setup, various expenses, $20,000 in fees and expenses. That's how investment management works. There are costs involved. I stood up. My legs were shaking. Joseph, you stole from me. I didn't steal. I have power of attorney. I made a financial decision on your behalf. You took $18,000 of my money to fund a luxury vacation for your mother-in-law, while I spent Christmas alone. How is that not theft? Because it was a strategic use of resources. Mom, you don't understand. Carolyn is important to Allison. Allison is important to me. My marriage is important to my career. Investing in family stability is investing in your future security because if I'm successful, I can take care of you. The logic was so twisted, so narcissistic that I couldn't even process it. I want my money back. It's invested, Mom. I can't just pull it out without penalties. Then pay me back the $18,000 you spent on Cancun. I don't have $18,000 in liquid assets right now. You're a CFO. You make six figures. And I have a mortgage, car payments, kids' expenses. I don't just have $18,000 sitting around. But you had it to spend on Cancun. That was your money. That's different. I felt dizzy. Sick. This conversation was surreal. My son, my educated, successful son, was explaining why it was acceptable to steal from his widowed mother to fund a vacation for someone else's mother. I trusted you, I whispered. You're a CFO. You're supposed to be the person who manages money responsibly. And you stole from me. I didn't steal from you. I made an investment decision. If you understood finance, you'd see that. If I understood finance, Joseph, I understand theft. I understand betrayal. And I understand that you chose Carolyn over your own mother for Christmas and funded that choice with my life savings. You're being dramatic. I'm being dramatic. I worked for 42 years to save that money. Every overtime shift. Every holiday I worked instead of spending with you and your father. 42 years of sacrifices. And you spent it on a beach vacation for someone else's mother while I sat alone on Christmas. Mom, you need to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Give me my money back. All of it. Now. I told you. I can't. It's invested. There are penalties for early withdrawal. I'd have to. I don't care about penalties. I want my money back. Fine. I'll liquidate the accounts. But you're going to lose probably $10,000 to $15,000 in penalties and fees. Is that what you want? Was he seriously asking me that? As if the penalties were my fault for demanding my own money back? Yes, I said. That's what I want. Give me back what's left of my savings. And I never want you to handle my finances again. You're making a mistake. The mistake was trusting you. I left his house that day with my hands shaking, and my world shattered. My son had stolen from me, used my money for a luxury vacation with his mother-in-law while leaving me alone on Christmas. And he didn't even think he'd done anything wrong. Over the next 2 weeks, Joseph transferred what was left of my money back into my personal accounts. After penalties, fees, and the $18,000 he'd spent on Cancun, I got back $73,000. $54,000 gone. In 6 months. $18,000 on a vacation I wasn't invited to. The rest disappeared into fees and expenses that Joseph couldn't or wouldn't explain in detail. I consulted a lawyer. Explained everything. Showed him the power of attorney documents. Unfortunately, he said, with the power of attorney you signed, Joseph had legal authority to manage your money. Unless you can prove he acted fraudulently, which is difficult when he can claim these were investment decisions, it's hard to get criminal charges to stick. He stole from me. Legally, he had authority to make financial decisions on your behalf. The $18,000 for the vacation is concerning, but he could argue it was a loan, or that he believed it would benefit you somehow. The legal system isn't well equipped to handle family financial abuse when proper documentation exists. So he gets away with it. You could pursue a civil case, sue him for the money. But that's expensive, time-consuming, and might not result in recovery of the full amount. I left the lawyer's office feeling defeated. My son had stolen from me, and the legal system couldn't help because I trusted him enough to give him legal authority to do exactly what he did. Have you ever realized you were complicit in your own betrayal? That the trust you gave someone was the weapon they used against you? Share your experience in the comments. And subscribing to Lindsay Stories helps us continue sharing these painful but important truths. I didn't pursue a lawsuit. Partly because I couldn't afford it with my diminished savings. Partly because I couldn't bear the thought of a public legal battle with my own son. But mainly because I realized something: the money was gone. Fighting for it wouldn't bring it back. And what I really lost wasn't the $54,000. It was my son. My relationship with my grandchildren. My belief that family meant something. Those couldn't be recovered in court. I stopped contacting Joseph, stopped texting, stopped calling. If he wanted a relationship with me, he'd have to initiate it. He didn't. Weeks passed, then months. Joseph never reached out, never apologized, never acknowledged what he'd done. Allison kept posting on Instagram, family photos, weekend activities, Emma's birthday party in February, Lucas's kindergarten graduation in May, all documented extensively, none of it including me. And in several photos, there was Carolyn. At Emma's birthday party, at a family barbecue. Present. Involved. The grandmother Joseph had chosen, the grandmother he'd spent my money to prioritize. I joined a support group for victims of financial abuse, found it online after searching desperately for anyone who might understand what I was going through. The group met Tuesday evenings at a community center, 8 to 12 people, all with similar stories. Adult children who'd stolen from aging parents, spouses who'd drained accounts, relatives who'd manipulated their way into control of someone else's money. The hardest part, a woman named Margaret said during one meeting, is that he's my son. Society expects me to forgive him, to maintain the relationship. But how do you have a relationship with someone who stole your financial security? I related to that so completely. My daughter tells people I'm confused about the money, another woman shared. That I gave it to her willingly, and now I'm having memory issues. She's rewriting history to make herself look good. Joseph was doing something similar. I heard through mutual friends that he told people I'd misunderstood the situation, that there had been a miscommunication about how the money would be used. Not that he'd stolen from me, not that he'd lied, just that I'd misunderstood. The group facilitator, a social worker named Karen, helped us understand the dynamics of financial abuse. These abusers often use their professional credibility as cover, she explained. Joseph being a CFO gave him legitimacy, made you less likely to question him. That's not an accident. That's calculated manipulation. I'd never thought of it that way. But she was right. Joseph's career had been the reason I trusted him, and he'd used that trust against me. What hurts most, I told the group during one meeting, is a vacation. If he'd needed the money for medical bills or his kids' education, or some emergency, I might understand. But he spent my life savings on a luxury vacation for someone else's mother, while I spent Christmas alone. That wasn't necessity. That was cruelty. Karen nodded. That's the emotional abuse component. The financial theft is one thing, but the symbolic act, choosing his mother-in-law over you, using your money to do it, lying to leave you alone on a major holiday, that's psychological abuse. He wanted you to know you weren't his priority. Why would he want that? Control, distance, possibly guilt he couldn't face directly. Or maybe Allison pressured him and he chose her comfort over yours. Regardless, the message was clear. You don't matter as much as Carolyn does. That realization sat with me for weeks, months. Joseph hadn't just stolen money. He deliberately shown me my place in his hierarchy. And my place was below his mother-in-law. In April, I saw Joseph at a grocery store. We literally ran into each other in the produce section. Him reaching for avocados, me reaching for tomatoes, our hands nearly touching. "Mom," he said, looking startled. "Joseph." Awkward silence. "How are you?" he finally asked. "I'm surviving. But the $73,000 you left me after stealing the rest." His face hardened. "I didn't steal from you. We've been over this. You used my money to take Carolyn to Cancun while I spent Christmas alone. What would you call it? A financial decision you don't understand. I understand theft. I understand betrayal. I understand choosing someone else's mother over your own. Mom, if you're just going to, I'm not going to do anything. I'm grocery shopping. You can too. We don't have to interact." I moved past him, finished my shopping, drove home, and cried for 2 hours. Because seeing him in person had brought back all the pain, all the betrayal, all the grief of losing my son to his own selfishness. May brought my 69th birthday. Joseph didn't call, didn't text, didn't acknowledge it at all. Allison posted photos of Emma's end of year school performance. Carolyn was there, front row, proud grandmother. My seat was empty. Not because I wasn't invited, because I hadn't even been told about it. July marked 1 year since I'd signed over power of attorney. 1 year since I'd trusted Joseph with my financial future. I thought about the woman I'd been then. The proud mother who believed her son would protect her. The naive widow who thought professional credentials meant integrity. That woman was gone, replaced by someone harder, more careful, less trusting. I'd lost $54,000, but I'd gained clarity. Painful, horrible clarity about who my son really was. In August, I did something I'd been avoiding. I looked up Carolyn online, found her Facebook profile. It was public so I could see her posts. She'd written about the Cancun trip, a long post in January thanking Joseph and Allison for the most incredible Christmas gift, about how the trip had healed her heart after her divorce, about how blessed she was to have a son-in-law like Joseph who treats her like his own mother. Using his actual mother's money. The post had dozens of comments, friends congratulating her, praising Joseph, calling him thoughtful and generous. No one knew he'd funded that generosity with stolen money. No one knew his real mother had spent Christmas alone. Carolyn looked happy in all the photos. Relaxed, enjoying the vacation I'd unknowingly paid for, and I realized she probably didn't even know. Joseph had likely presented it as his own generosity, his own gift. She had no idea she was enjoying luxury funded by his mother's stolen savings. That somehow made it worse. September brought another betrayal. I got a notice from my bank about an overdraft fee, which was strange because I was careful with money. Always had been. I checked my account, saw a withdrawal I didn't recognize. $500, dated 2 weeks earlier. I called the bank. The withdrawal had been made with my debit card. In Scottsdale. I hadn't been to Scottsdale that day, and my card was in my wallet. But Joseph still had access to my accounts. The power of attorney might have been effectively revoked when he transferred the money back. But he still had the account numbers, still had the access he'd set up months earlier. He'd taken another $500, without asking, without telling me. I changed all my accounts that day. New bank, new account numbers, security measures Joseph couldn't bypass, and I mourned again. Because part of me had hoped he might eventually acknowledge what he'd done, apologize, try to make things right. But this casual theft of $500 more showed he had no remorse, no intention of stopping. I reported it to the police. They said it was a civil matter, that I'd need to sue him if I wanted the money back. I didn't sue. What was the point? I'd spend more on legal fees than I'd recover. But I did send Joseph one text. I know you took another $500 from my account. I've closed all the old accounts and opened new ones you don't have access to. Stay away from my money and stay away from me. He never responded. October brought a surprise. A text from Emma, my granddaughter. She was 8 now, old enough to have her own tablet, old enough to reach out. Hi Grandma Diana. I miss you. Can I see you? I stared at that text for 10 minutes. Emma missed me. Wanted to see me. I miss you too, sweetheart. I would love to see you. Can you come to my soccer game on Saturday? She gave me the time and location. I said I'd be there. On Saturday, I drove to the soccer field, found Emma's team, watched her play. She was good. Quick, enthusiastic. At halftime, she saw me in the stands and waved. Huge smile. Ran over. Grandma, you came. Of course I came. We hugged. And for a moment, all the pain of the past year faded. My granddaughter loved me. Wanted me there. Then Joseph appeared, walking over from where he'd been standing with Allison. Emma, come here. He called. Emma ran back to him. He put his hand on her shoulder, leaned down and whispered something. Emma nodded, looked back at me with confusion. Then Joseph walked over. What are you doing here? He asked quietly. Firmly. Emma invited me. I'm watching her game. You can't just show up at family events. Emma invited me. She texted me. She wanted me here. She's a child. She doesn't understand the situation. What situation? That you stole from me? His jaw tightened. Mom, you need to leave. Emma wants me here. I'm her father. I'm telling you to leave. If you don't, I'll have you removed. I looked past him, saw Emma watching. Confused. Hurt, not understanding why Grandma was being sent away. I didn't want to cause a scene. Didn't want to embarrass Emma or make this about adult conflicts. So I left, walked back to my car, drove home, and cried. Because Joseph had stolen my money, my Christmas, and now he was taking my relationship with my grandchildren too. Emma texted me that night. Why did you leave Grandma? I didn't know how to answer. How do you explain to an 8-year-old that her father doesn't want her grandmother around? That family relationships are complicated and cruel in ways children shouldn't have to understand? I wrote back, sometimes grown-ups have disagreements. I love you very much. I hope I'll see you again soon. She responded with a heart emoji, and then I didn't hear from her again. I suspect Joseph or Allison took away her ability to contact me. One more relationship stolen by my son's cruelty. If this story touches you, if you've experienced financial abuse from family, been excluded and replaced, had money and relationships stolen by people who should have protected you, please share this. Leave a comment. Let others know they're not alone in this devastation. And subscribe to Lindsay Stories, because these painful truths need to be told. Silence protects abusers. and we're done protecting them at our own expense. November marked a year since Joseph had told me he'd manage my finances. A year since I'd made the mistake of trusting him. I was back to working part-time. At 69 years old, I'd picked up shifts at a clinic doing administrative work. Because my savings, what was left of them, weren't enough anymore. $73,000 instead of $127,000 made a significant difference. The difference between security and struggle. Every shift I worked, I thought about the Cancun vacation. About Carolyn lying on a beach. About $18,000 of my money funding her healing while I worked at 69 to make up for what my son had stolen. December arrived again. Another Christmas approaching. Another year of grief and betrayal. I wasn't invited anywhere. Joseph certainly didn't reach out. My friend Patricia invited me to spend Christmas with her family again, and this time I accepted. It was nice. Her family was kind. But I was still the pitied widow, the woman whose son had abandoned her. I checked Allison's Instagram on Christmas Day. Couldn't help myself. Needed to see if they'd gone somewhere else this year. Taken another trip. Made more memories I wasn't part of. They'd stayed home. Photos of presents. Kids by the tree. Family breakfast. And Carolyn. Right there in the photos. Wearing matching pajamas with the family. Opening presents with her grandchildren. The grandmother who'd been chosen. Who'd been prioritized. Who'd gotten the luxury vacation while I got abandoned. I closed Instagram. Didn't look at it again for months. My name is Diana Foster. I'm 69 years old now. My son stole my life savings to fund a luxury vacation for his mother-in-law while leaving me alone on Christmas. I lost $54,000. I lost my son. I lost my grandchildren. I lost my financial security in my old age. And I gained knowledge. Painful, horrible knowledge about trust and family, and how the people you raise can betray you in ways you never imagined. I work part-time now. Live carefully. Budget strictly. Try to rebuild savings that should have been protected. And I've learned to accept what is. Joseph isn't coming back. There won't be an apology. He genuinely believes he did nothing wrong. He'll continue to prioritize Carolyn. To post about family that doesn't include me. To raise my grandchildren to think their other grandmother is too busy, or too difficult, or whatever story he tells. And I'll continue to survive. To build a life from what's left. To find meaning in work and friendships, and the small joys available to someone whose family has discarded them. This isn't a story about reconciliation. It's a story about survival after financial and emotional devastation. About learning to live with the knowledge that your child is capable of cruelty you never thought possible. Share this story. Comment with your experience. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories. Because financial abuse by family members is real. Because adult children stealing from aging parents is more common than people want to acknowledge. Because we need to stop protecting abusers and start protecting victims. Thank you for listening. For witnessing. For making space for stories that reveal uncomfortable truths. That's everything. What I haven't fully shared yet is how the financial loss changed every aspect of my daily life. The practical, grinding reality of losing half your savings at 69 years old. Before Joseph stole from me, I had security. Not wealth, but security. I could afford my rent without worry. Could buy groceries without calculating every purchase. Could go to a doctor without fear of co-payments bankrupting me. After, everything changed. I cut my cable. Canceled subscriptions. Started shopping at discount grocery stores instead of the regular supermarket. Learned to buy generic everything. Stopped going to movies or restaurants. Every expense became a calculation. Can I afford this? What can I cut to make room for it? At 69, I was living like I had during my 20s. Paycheck to paycheck. Except I didn't have the decades ahead of me to rebuild. This was it. This was my retirement. The part-time administrative job I'd found paid $14 an hour. 20 hours a week. After taxes, about $900 a month. Combined with my Social Security $1,300 a month, I had just enough to cover rent, utilities, food, and basic expenses. No cushion. No emergency fund. No ability to save. One unexpected expense, a car repair, a medical bill, anything, and I'd be in crisis. That's what Joseph had stolen. Not just $54,000, but peace of mind. Security, the ability to age without constant financial fear. The support group became my lifeline in understanding what had been done to me. Every Tuesday evening, I'd sit in that circle and hear stories that mirrored my own. My daughter convinced me to put her name on my accounts for emergencies. A woman named Ruth shared. She drained them within 6 months. Took $40,000. When I confronted her, she said she borrowed it and would pay it back. That was 3 years ago. My son handles my disability payments, an older man said. Last month I discovered he's been taking 20% for management fees. Fees I never agreed to. My caseworker said there's nothing they can do because I signed papers giving him access. Story after story. Children stealing from parents. Using legal documents and parental trust as weapons. Taking money that represented years, sometimes decades of work and sacrifice. The system isn't designed to help us, Karen, the facilitator, explained. Elder financial abuse is massively underreported because victims are embarrassed. Because they're protecting their abusers. Because, like domestic violence, people blame the victim for allowing it to happen. I understood that. The shame I felt was immense. How could I have been so stupid? How could I not have seen what Joseph was doing? But Karen was clear. You weren't stupid. You trusted your son. That's what parents are supposed to do. The failure isn't yours, it's his. He exploited your trust. That's on him, not you. Intellectually, I understood. Emotionally, I still felt responsible. In February, I started seeing a therapist. Dr. Sarah Chen specialized in trauma and family estrangement. I saw her once a week, $50 a session, which I could barely afford, but I needed help processing what had happened. Tell me about the son you thought you had, she said during our third session. I thought I had a son who was honest, successful, someone who would protect me. I was proud of him. He was a CFO, smart with money. I thought he'd use those skills to help me, not to rob me. And the son you actually have is a thief, a liar, someone who values his mother-in-law more than his own mother, someone who could look at his widowed, elderly mother and decide she's worth less than a beach vacation. How does that realization feel? Like grief. Like I'm mourning someone who died. Except he's not dead. He's alive and continuing to hurt me by his absence. Dr. Chen nodded. That's ambiguous loss. You're grieving a relationship that still technically exists, but is functionally dead. It's one of the hardest types of grief because there's no closure. No funeral. No ritual to mark the ending. How do I get closure? You create it yourself. You decide what the relationship is now. You set boundaries. You stop waiting for him to become someone different. That became my work over the following months. Accepting that Joseph wouldn't change. That he continued to prioritize Carolyn. That he continued to exclude me. That he genuinely believed taking my money was justified. And learning to build a life that didn't depend on him changing those things. In March, something happened that tested everything I'd been working on. Emma reached out again. She'd gotten a new phone for her 9th birthday. Found my number somehow, maybe she'd saved it before Joseph took her tablet. She called me on a Saturday afternoon. Grandma Diana. Emma. Sweetheart. How are you? I'm good. I miss you. Why don't I see you anymore? The question every grandparent dreads. How do you explain adult cruelty to a child? It's complicated, honey. Sometimes families have disagreements. Is it because of the money? My heart stopped. What do you know about money? I heard Dad talking to Mom. He said you were mad about money. That you didn't understand. Emma, your dad took money from me that I needed. Money I'd saved for a long time. That's why we're not seeing each other right now. Silence on her end. Then, is that why you didn't come to my birthday party? I wasn't invited, sweetheart. I would have come if I'd known. But Grandma Carolyn was there. I know. Don't you want to be my grandma anymore? I was crying now, trying to keep my voice steady so she wouldn't hear. Emma, I love you so much. I want to be in your life. But that's not up to me right now. That's up to your dad. Can I ask him? You can. But honey, if he says no, that's not because of you. It's because of grown-up problems that have nothing to do with how special you are. We talked for a few more minutes. About school. About her friends. About normal things that broke my heart because I was missing all of it. When we hung up, I knew Joseph would find out about the call. Would probably take the phone away or block my number. And I was right. 2 days later, I got a text from him, stop contacting Emma. She's confused enough without you inserting yourself into her life. I tried to respond, she called me. I'm her grandmother. I have a right to. But the message wouldn't send. He blocked my number. So Emma was gone again. One more relationship stolen. April brought unexpected help. A former colleague from the hospital, a woman named Linda I'd worked with for 15 years, heard about my situation through our mutual friend Patricia. She called me. Diana, I heard what Joseph did. I'm so sorry. Thank you. It's been difficult. Listen, I don't know if you'd be interested, but I do accounting for small businesses from home. I could use help a few hours a week. It's not much, maybe $12 an hour, 10 hours a week, but if you need extra work, it's yours. I nearly cried with relief. Linda, yes. Thank you. When can I start? That extra $120 a week made an enormous difference. Suddenly I could afford small things that had become luxuries. A haircut. Shoes that weren't falling apart. Occasionally, a meal I didn't have to cook. Linda became a friend during those months. She lived through her own family betrayal, a sister who'd stolen from their father before he died. She understood. The worst part, she told me, is knowing that he got away with it. My sister spent Dad's money on a new car, a European vacation, designer clothes, and Dad never reported her because he was embarrassed. She inherited half his estate when he died. Got rewarded for stealing from him. Is that what's going to happen with Joseph? He'll inherit what's left when I die, maybe. Unless you change your will. I hadn't thought about my will. It was old, written when Tom was alive. Left everything to Joseph because he was my only child. But why should Joseph inherit anything from me after what he done? Why should he profit from my death after stealing from my life? I made an appointment with a lawyer. A different lawyer from the one who told me I couldn't pursue criminal charges. This one specialized in estate planning. I want to change my will. I told her. My son stole from me. I don't want him to inherit anything. She listened to the whole story. Took notes. Asked questions. You can definitely disinherit him, she said. But be aware he might contest the will. Claim you were incompetent or that he provided care that justified inheritance. It could get ugly. It's already ugly. At least this way, he won't profit from my death. Then let's make sure the will is ironclad. We'll include a statement about why you're disinheriting him. Document the financial abuse. Make it clear you're of sound mind and this is a deliberate choice, not confusion or dementia. Over the next month, we created a new will. I left my estate, whatever would be left of it, to a scholarship fund for nursing students. In memory of Tom. Supporting the profession I'd loved. Making sure my life's work would benefit someone. Joseph would get nothing. And the will explicitly stated why my son Joseph used his position as holder of my power of attorney to steal $50 from my savings for personal expenses, including a luxury vacation for his mother-in-law. This disinheritance is a deliberate choice reflecting his betrayal of my trust. It felt like control, like justice, like the one thing I could do to ensure he didn't profit from hurting me. The lawyer warned me. He'll probably be furious when he finds out. He's already stolen from me and cut me out of his life. What more can he do? She nodded. Just be prepared. People react badly to disinheritance. I didn't care. For the first time since discovering the Kanken photos, I felt something other than helpless grief. I felt powerful. Summer brought another Instagram post from Allison. This time, a family vacation to Hawaii. 10 days. Photos of beaches, luau's, snorkeling, resort amenities. Caroline was in many of the photos. Smiling. Tan. Enjoying another luxury vacation. I wondered if Joseph had used his own money this time, or if he found another source to exploit. I didn't know. I only knew I wasn't paying for it anymore. The post had dozens of comments. Friends envious of the trip, asking about the resort, praising the family photos. No one knew the cost of this perfect family. No one knew about the mother who'd been discarded to make room for the better version. I closed Instagram after that. Deleted the app. Decided I didn't need to torture myself with evidence of my exclusion. What I didn't see didn't hurt as much. In August, I celebrated my 70th birthday. Linda took me to lunch. Patricia sent flowers. The support group sang to me at our Tuesday meeting. Joseph didn't acknowledge it. Neither did Emma or Lucas. My grandchildren didn't know it was my birthday because their father had erased me from their lives so completely. That night, I sat in my small apartment and thought about 70 years of life. About nursing school and marriage and raising a child. About 42 years of nursing. About Tom's death and the grief that followed. About trusting my son and losing everything. I'd survived 70 years. Survived losses I thought would destroy me. And I was still here. Still working. Still building some kind of life from the ruins. That had to count for something. September marked 2 years since I'd signed over power of attorney. 2 years since the decision that would cost me everything. I thought about the woman I'd been then. Trusting. Naive. Believing her son would protect her. That woman was gone. Replaced by someone harder. More cautious. Less willing to trust anyone with anything important. I'd learned that family doesn't mean safety. That professional credentials don't guarantee integrity. That love doesn't prevent betrayal. Painful lessons. But lessons I'd survived learning. October brought an unexpected letter. From Joseph. I saw his name on the return address and almost didn't open it. What could he possibly have to say after 2 years of silence? But curiosity won. I opened the envelope. The letter was short. Mom, I've been thinking about everything that happened between us. I know you're still angry about the financial decisions I made, but I need you to understand my position. When I managed your money, I was trying to help. The trip to Kanken wasn't frivolous, it was an investment in family relationships that benefit everyone, including you. A strong marriage and healthy family dynamics are the foundation of long-term stability. I also need to tell you something. Allison and I are starting the process for me to legally adopt Carolyn as my mother. She's been more of a parent to me than you've been in recent years, and we want to formalize that relationship. I thought you should know in case anyone tells you about it. Joseph, I read that letter 3 times, trying to process what I was seeing. Joseph had written to tell me he was formally replacing me, making Carolyn his legal mother, erasing even the biological connection between us. And he phrased it as though this was somehow my fault, as though I'd been an inadequate mother, as though his choice to steal from me and exclude me justified replacing me entirely. I folded the letter carefully, put it in a drawer, and something inside me that had still been holding onto the possibility that Joseph might change finally died. He wasn't going to change. He was escalating, making his choice permanent and legal. Fine. If he wanted Carolyn as his mother, he could have her, and I would stop grieving a son who'd made clear I was replaceable. The next Tuesday, I brought the letter to the support group. Karen read it aloud. The room was silent when she finished. "That's not normal estrangement," she said quietly. "That's calculated cruelty. He wrote this to hurt you." "Mission accomplished," I said. "No," Margaret said firmly. "Mission failed. Because for him to win, you have to be destroyed. And you're not destroyed. You're here. You're surviving. You're building a life. He can't take that from you." She was right. Joseph had taken my money, my grandchildren, my sense of security. But he hadn't taken my life, my ability to work, to make friends, to find meaning in work and community. I was still here. And that was victory, even if it didn't feel like it. I never responded to Joseph's letter. There was nothing to say. He'd made his choice. I'd made mine. We were done. My name is Diana Foster. I'm 70 years old. My son used his position as CFO and holder of power of attorney to steal $54,000 from my life savings. He spent $18,000 of that on a luxury vacation for his mother-in-law while leaving me alone on Christmas. He stole my money. He stole my grandchildren. He stole my financial security. And now he's attempting to legally replace me with the woman he chose instead. I've lost almost everything. But I'm still here. Still working at 70 because I have to. Still building friendships and finding purpose. Still surviving what should have destroyed me. This isn't a story about justice. Joseph will never face legal consequences. He'll continue his successful career and happy family life. He'll raise my grandchildren to believe their real grandmother is Carolyn, while I'm the difficult woman who caused problems. But this is a story about survival, about refusing to let betrayal define your entire existence, about building meaning from whatever's left after someone you love destroys what you thought you had. If this resonates with you, if you've experienced financial abuse from family, been replaced by someone else, lost money in relationships to betrayal, share the story. Comment with your experience. Let others know they're not alone. And subscribe to Lindsay Stories. Because financial abuse by family members is epidemic. Because adult children stealing from aging parents is more common than anyone wants to admit. Because we need to stop protecting abusers and start protecting victims. Thank you for listening. For witnessing. For making space for painful truths that need to be told. That's everything. Before I close the story, there are a few more truths I need to share. Things that might help someone else walking this same painful road. The first truth: financial abuse by adult children is more common than anyone wants to admit. And it's devastating in ways that go far beyond the dollar amount. In my support group, I met dozens of people with similar stories. Children who convinced parents to sign over control of accounts for convenience. Children who'd borrowed money they never repaid. Children who'd used caregiving as leverage to access funds. Children who'd stolen inheritance from their own siblings. The amounts varied. $10,000, $50,000. In one case, $300,000 drained over 5 years. But the emotional impact was always the same: profound betrayal by someone who should have protected us. Grief for the relationship we thought we had. Shame for being stupid enough to trust our own children. Society tells us parents sacrifice for children, Karen explained during one group session. That's supposed to be one-directional. When children exploit that sacrifice, when they take and take and take without reciprocating, it violates a fundamental social contract. And nobody wants to talk about it because it challenges our narratives about family. She was right. When I tried to talk about what Joseph had done with people outside the support group, I got uncomfortable reactions. "Well, I'm sure he didn't mean to hurt you. Maybe he really believed it was a good investment. You should try to work it out. He's your son, at least he's successful." Some children don't amount to anything. Nobody wanted to acknowledge that successful, educated, professional adults can be thieves, that children can deliberately hurt their parents, that family relationships can be fundamentally exploitative. It was easier for people to minimize what had happened than to confront the uncomfortable truth that it could happen to them too. The second truth: the legal system is not designed to protect elderly victims of family financial abuse. I learned this through painful experience and through stories shared in my support group. Unless you can prove outright fraud, which is nearly impossible when proper legal documents exist, the system treats it as a family matter. Police won't investigate. Prosecutors won't charge. Civil courts require expensive lawsuits that most elderly victims can't afford. And even when cases do go to trial, juries are reluctant to believe that seemingly successful, respectable adults would steal from their own parents, especially when the accused can afford good lawyers who paint the elderly parent as confused, vindictive, or mentally incompetent. My son hired a lawyer who argued I had dementia, Ruth from the group shared. The judge ordered a cognitive evaluation. I passed. But the case still got dismissed because the judge said it was a private family financial dispute, not a crime. My daughter claimed everything she took was repayment for caregiving she provided. Another member said she hadn't provided any caregiving, but proving that was impossible. The judge said it was he said, she said, and dismissed the case. The system failed us again and again. Because family financial abuse occupies a strange legal space where theft isn't called theft if the perpetrator is related to you. The third truth: the financial impact compounds over time in ways you don't expect. Losing $54,000 at 68 means I'll be working until I physically can't anymore. It means medical issues I might ignore because I can't afford the copayment. It means no emergency fund if my car breaks down or my rent increases. But it also means smaller losses that add up. No money for gifts at Christmas. No ability to help friends who might need a loan. No cushion to say yes when someone invites me somewhere that costs money. The theft doesn't end when the money is taken. It reverberates through every financial decision for the rest of my life. And at 70, I don't have time to rebuild. This is it. This is what I have to live on until I die. The fourth truth: you learn who your real friends are when something like this happens. Patricia stayed. Linda stayed. The people from my support group understood because they were living it too. But other people drifted away, uncomfortable with my anger, tired of hearing about it, wanting me to move on before I was ready. You're dwelling on it, one former friend said. It's been a year. You need to forgive and forget. Easy to say when it's not your money that was stolen, not your son who betrayed you, not your grandchildren you're forbidden from seeing. I stopped talking to people who couldn't understand, saved my energy for relationships that didn't require me to minimize my own pain for their comfort. The fifth truth: grief over losing a living family member is complicated in ways death grief isn't. When Tom died, people understood. There were rituals, a funeral, sympathy cards, permission to mourn. When Joseph effectively ended our relationship, there was no ritual, no community acknowledgement, no permission to grieve. He was still alive, still out there living his life. I'd see his name on LinkedIn, see Allison's posts. No, he was continuing to exist and thrive while I grieved him like he died. It's called disenfranchised grief, Dr. Chen explained. Grief that society doesn't recognize or validate. You're mourning a relationship loss that doesn't count in most people's minds, because the person is still alive. That grief had no endpoint, no closure, just an ongoing ache of absence while knowing he was fine, happy, even living the life he'd chosen, which didn't include me. 6 months ago, I ran into someone who knew Joseph professionally, a colleague of his who'd met me once at a company event years earlier. Diana, good to see you. How's Joseph doing? I don't know. We don't have contact. His expression shifted awkward. Uncomfortable, though. I'm sorry to hear that. He stole my retirement savings and excluded me from his life. So we're not in touch. I said it matter-of-factly, without emotion. Because after 2.5 years, I'd gotten good at delivering that information without breaking down. The colleague didn't know what to say, made an excuse and hurried away. And I felt nothing. No shame. No need to protect Joseph's reputation. If people were going to know him, they should know what kind of person he really was. 4 months ago, I got a LinkedIn message from Allison. It was the first direct contact from her since everything happened. Diana, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to reach out because Emma and Lucas ask about you sometimes. Emma especially remembers you and wishes she could see you. I know things are complicated with Joseph, but maybe we could arrange something? Just the kids and me without him? Let me know if you'd be interested. I stared at that message for hours, trying to decide what to do. Part of me desperately wanted to say yes, to see Emma and Lucas, to be part of their lives again. But another part knew this was dangerous, that Joseph would never allow it. That Allison was probably reaching out without his knowledge. That any relationship she facilitated would be secretive, temporary, and end the moment he found out. And I couldn't do that to the kids. Couldn't be a secret in their lives. Couldn't let them get attached again only to lose me when Joseph discovered what was happening. I wrote back, "Thank you for reaching out. I love Emma and Lucas very much. But I can't be part of their lives in secret or against their father's wishes. When they're adults and can make their own choices about relationships, I hope they'll reach out. Until then, please tell them their grandma Diana loves them and thinks about them often." Allison never responded. I don't know if she told Joseph about reaching out. I don't know if she told the kids what I said. I just know I did the right thing, even though it hurt. 3 months ago, I started volunteering at a financial literacy nonprofit, teaching elderly people about protecting their assets, recognizing financial abuse, understanding legal documents before signing them. It was my way of turning my pain into purpose, of helping others avoid what happened to me. The first workshop I led, I told my story. Simplified but honest. I trusted my son to manage my retirement savings. He was a CFO. I thought that meant I could trust him. 6 months later, he'd spent $54,000 of my money on personal expenses, including a luxury vacation for his mother-in-law. The room was silent. 20 elderly people, all vulnerable to the same kind of abuse. "I'm not telling you not to trust your children," I continued. "I'm telling you to protect yourself even when you trust them. Never give anyone complete control of your finances. Keep separate accounts, required to signatures for large withdrawals. Document everything, because the people we love most can hurt us most deeply." After the workshop, 3 people came up to tell me similar stories. One woman was currently being pressured by her daughter to sign over power of attorney. The workshop had made her realize it wasn't safe. If I could save even one person from what I'd been through, maybe my pain had purpose. 2 months ago, I got a notice that Joseph had updated his LinkedIn profile. New title, Senior Vice President and CFO, promoted. Bigger role. More money. He was thriving. While I worked part-time at 70 to make up for what he'd stolen, he was getting promoted. Moving up. Succeeding in every measurable way. There's no justice in that. No fairness. Just a reality that bad people often prosper while their victims struggle. I had to make peace with that. Had to stop waiting for karma or consequences that would never come. Had to accept that Joseph would continue to have a good life while I dealt with the fallout of his choices. Last month, Emma turned 10. I saw the Instagram post Allison had unblocked me at some point, or maybe I was never blocked, just not checking. A big party. Dozens of kids, elaborate decorations, and Carolyn there, front and center with a caption calling her the best grandma. Emma was growing up, becoming someone I didn't know. Her childhood passing while I was excluded from it. That hurt in a new way. Not the sharp pain of initial betrayal, but the dull ache of ongoing loss. Of watching life happen to people I loved while being unable to participate. But I was surviving it. Working, volunteering, building friendships, finding small joys in a life that looked nothing like I'd imagined. I'd turned 70. Made it through another year. Proved I could survive what should have destroyed me. My savings account has $9,000 now. Not the $73,000 Joseph left me with. Life is expensive, but more than the nothing I sometimes feared I'd have. I'm still here. Still working. Still building something from ruins. That's not nothing. My name is Diana Foster. I'm 70 years old. My son used his position as a CFO to steal my life savings. He spent my money on luxury vacations for his mother-in-law while excluding me from his life. I lost $54,000. I lost my son. I lost my grandchildren. I lost the retirement I'd planned. But I didn't lose myself. I didn't lose my capacity for meaningful work. I didn't lose my ability to help others. I didn't lose my life. I'm still here. And that's victory, even if it doesn't look like I thought it would. If you've experienced financial abuse from family, if you've been stolen from, lied to, excluded, replaced, know that you're not alone. Your anger is valid. Your grief is real. Your survival matters. Share this story. Let others know this happens. Let victims know they're not crazy, not alone, not wrong to feel devastated. And subscribe to Lindsay Stories, because these truths need to be told. Silence protects abusers and isolates victims. We're done being silent. Thank you for witnessing my story, for making space for pain that doesn't have resolution, for acknowledging that sometimes survival is the only victory we get. That's everything. One final thought before I go. Something I wish someone had told me when I first discovered what Joseph had done. Financial abuse by family isn't about the money. It's about power, control, and a fundamental lack of respect for your humanity. Joseph didn't take my savings because he needed the money. He makes 6 figures. He took it because he could. Because he positioned himself as a financial expert and I trusted him. Because taking care of Carolyn mattered more to him than protecting me. The money was just the weapon. The real crime was showing me exactly where I ranked in his priorities. And once I understood that, once I stopped trying to make sense of it financially and started seeing it as a statement about my value to him, everything became clearer. He didn't steal from me because he was desperate or confused. He stole from me because he didn't respect me enough to believe I deserved protection. That knowledge is painful, but it's also clarifying. It ended the mental gymnastics of trying to understand his reasoning. It stopped me from making excuses for him. He showed me who he was, and I chose to believe him. If you're reading this and recognizing your own story, if you've been stolen from by someone who should have protected you, please hear this. It's not your fault. You weren't naive or stupid or trusting. You acted with love. They acted with selfishness. That's on them, not you. And your survival, your ability to keep going despite what they've taken, that's everything. That's the win they can't steal from you. My son took my money, my Christmas, my grandchildren, my sense of security, my belief that family means something. But he didn't take my life, my capacity for work, my ability to help others, my resilience. I'm 70 years old and I'm still here, still working because I have to, still building purpose from whatever remains, still proving that you can lose almost everything and still be worth something. Share this story widely, not because I need attention, but because someone you know might be living this silently, might be wondering if they're alone in this specific pain, might need permission to name what's happening as abuse. Your story matters too. Comment with your experience. Let others know they're not alone. And subscribe to Lindsay Stories. Because financial abuse by family members needs to be talked about openly. Because silence protects abusers. Because victims deserve to know they're not crazy, not alone, not wrong. We're done being silent about theft disguised as family. Thank you for listening. For caring. For making space for stories that make people uncomfortable but need to be heard. Joseph stole my savings to take his mother-in-law to a resort. Left me alone on Christmas. Replaced me legally. And continues to thrive while I work at 70 to survive. That's the truth. Ugly, unfair, but true. And I'm still here to tell it. That's everything. And to Joseph, if you're somehow hearing this, if someone shares it with you, or if it finds its way to you, I want you to know something. I don't hate you. Hate requires energy I don't have. But I see you clearly now in ways I couldn't before. You're not the successful CFO who made a difficult financial decision. You're a thief who used professional credibility to manipulate your widowed mother. You're not the devoted husband who prioritized family stability. You're someone who chose another woman's mother over your own and used my money to fund that choice. You're not the misunderstood son whose mother didn't appreciate his efforts. You're the adult child who stole from an elderly parent and legally replaced her. I see you. And someday, Emma and Lucas will see you too. They'll ask questions. They'll want to know why their other grandmother disappeared. Why Carolyn was always there but Grandma Diana wasn't. And you'll have to answer those questions. You'll have to explain that you stole from me. That you spent my retirement savings on vacations for your mother-in-law. That you chose to erase me from their lives. You can lie to them like you lied to me. But eventually, the truth has a way of coming out. And when it does, I hope they judge you honestly. To everyone else still here, we survived hearing this story together. And if you're living your own version of it, you can survive that too. Not perfectly. Not without scars. But survive nonetheless. Financial abuse by family is real, common, devastating. And it's time we talked about it openly. Your story matters. Share it. Let others know they're not alone. Subscribe to Lindsay Stories to keep these necessary conversations alive. Thank you for being here, for listening, for caring about truth even when it's uncomfortable. That's everything. And one last truth, at 70 years old, working part-time to make up for stolen savings. I've learned that resilience isn't about bouncing back to who you were before. It's about building something new from what remains. It's about finding purpose in unexpected places. It's about surviving when you thought you couldn't. I'm not the woman I was before Joseph stole from me. That woman is gone. But this woman, scarred, cautious, but still standing, she's worth something too. And so are you. That's everything. I'm still here, still fighting, still surviving, and that has to mean something. That's everything.